Hello again, Loveland High School seniors, and welcome to College Bound Senior Video number 3, everything that you've ever wanted to know about standardized testing. Let's jump right in. Why might you want to watch this video? Well, you may want to learn more about what test optional might mean and how that could apply to the colleges you are planning to apply to. Or maybe you have not taken an SAT. Maybe you did not take it during your junior year and you're not sure if you need to take the test or not. Or maybe you're taking the SAT or have taken it, but don't know how to send your scores to a college if you choose to do so. So let's address all of those topics. First off, what does test optional mean? This is something that's probably picked up steam across the country in the last 3 or 4 years, more than anything else related to college applications. So becoming test optional means it is no longer a requirement to send SAT or ACT scores if colleges identify as test optional, which is many colleges and universities. So for example, every college and university in the state of Colorado is currently test optional, and it is your decision whether or not you will even choose to send a test score if you've taken a test. One thing that we'd always like to stress is that checking with admissions offices about test optional policies is absolutely critical. So sometimes you can find information on a website. Sometimes you might need to reach out to the admissions office, but you always want to know what's going to be in your best interest if you've taken a test, whether or not you want to send a score. So for example, I'm going to remind you that in the College Bound Senior Class of 2024 Google Classroom, you will find a document that gives guidance on whether or not to send test scores here in the state of Colorado. So let's go ahead and take a look, because this is something that I don't want you to miss. So the very early post, the second post in the Google Classroom on August 22nd was information here, and it has a PDF. Again, this is for state of Colorado, 4-year colleges and universities. And you'll see a few things. Number one, each public college and university is listed, as well as some of the private colleges and universities. In the first column here, you'll be asked, it'll explain to you whether or not you will identify if you are sending test scores within the application itself. Again, very straightforward. In the next column, there's the one you're really looking for. That's the advice on whether or not to submit your test scores. Some colleges are going to be very specific. Others will give you a very vague description of whether or not to send scores. As you can see, there are 2 pages here, so don't miss those at the bottom. Everything is in alphabetical order. And in the final column, you'll see something else you may want to consider, and that's whether or not test scores are required for scholarship eligibility. So even though you might be able to be admitted to a college or university, you may benefit from sending test scores for the purpose of scholarship eligibility. So that's something to consider as well. So please take a look at this carefully. Again, if you are applying out of state, consult with the admissions office at each of the colleges you are applying to. This is something that's super important to make sure that you follow the best path for you. If you choose to take an SAT or retake the SAT, at this time you would need to sign up for a national exam. National SATs are offered, I want to say 7 times throughout the calendar year or the school year. And they're always on Saturday mornings. So if you go to the College Board website, you'll be able to see a list of all the dates that the SAT is offered for the 2023-24 school year. You would register right online through your College Board account. And one thing to note is you need to register about a month ahead of the actual test date in order to avoid paying a late fee. Also, the earlier you register, the better the chance of being able to test close to you. If you wait till real close to that testing registration deadline, you may have to travel to Metro Denver or potentially even further because locations do fill up. There will be a test fee if you qualify for things like free and reduced lunch, or your family income puts you in a bracket that you might qualify for a fee waiver. Please see your counselor right away. we can assist with fee waiver eligibility questions. Next, there's an alternative to the SAT that you have probably heard about, and that is the ACT. The ACT used to be the state of Colorado standardized test, but for the last 10 or so years, it has been the SAT. The ACT format is a little bit different than the SAT, so that's something that you may look into if you'd like to take an alternative. And for information about the test and to register, you would go to the ACT website as you see listed here on the screen. Finally, if you choose to send your scores to colleges or universities, you must send it directly from your college board, which is for the SAT, or ACT account for it to be considered an official score. The high school cannot send SAT or ACT scores. We cannot send standardized test scores. And the only way for you to do so is directly through your college board or ACT account. There is a fee for sending your scores. It is about $12 for the SAT. I believe the ACT is very similar. And for those who have taken a test and qualify for a fee waiver, you can send scores for free. Your SAT or ACT scores can be submitted after your application has been submitted. And oftentimes colleges will recommend that you submit your college applications as early as possible. And even if you are taking an additional ACT or an SAT exam, that you submit your application and then follow up with your scores shortly thereafter. But again, this is one of those things that we really recommend reaching out to colleges and universities, admissions offices, to get good guidance on whether or not to wait to send your application. Most of the time, sending your application first and then getting your scores in as soon as possible is what is recommended. If you have any questions about SAT or ACT testing, please see your counselor at Loveland High as soon as possible. Thank you.